Every cook needs some standard equipment for basic cooking, from a heavy 12-inch skillet to a heat-proof silicone spatula. But what about the tools you just love to use? Maybe a little niche, maybe specific to a certain type of cooking? Here are 5 pieces of equipment I always keep within reach. By the way, this lesson is from our How to Think Like a Chef class, out now on ATK Classes on the America's Test Kitchen app. In this class, we'll talk about everything from how to successfully read and execute a recipe to how to troubleshoot a sticky situation. You'll learn about basic food safety and storage, as well as how to equip your kitchen. Beyond that, we'll discuss seasoning tips, the best ways to measure and prep ingredients, and how to make smart substitutions. There's information for everyone in this class, whether you're just getting started or you've been cooking for years. But first, so in my kitchen, I love smaller sheet pans. We're all very familiar with this. This is actually considered a half sheet pan. In restaurant kitchens, they are double this size. But this is a kitchen workhorse. We use it every day in the test kitchen, and I use it a ton at home. It's obviously wonderful for roasting things. We love it for cookies, even though it's not technically a cookie sheet. It does a great job with these higher sides of making every cookie brown really evenly. They're great for putting a wire rack in and roasting meat on top of it. You can't use this enough in your kitchen, and I have a lot of these. But it was a few years ago that I discovered that this half sheet size is not the smallest size that you can get. You can actually go a lot smaller, and it's really cool when you do. So I want to put this aside and talk about the next size down. So this is a 1/4 sheet pan. And as you'll see, as we go smaller, they also get cuter. Everyone loves something cuter in the kitchen. So a 1/4 sheet pan is great. It's just as functional as the half sheet pan, but it's smaller. And so what this means is if you have a large toaster oven, this can go in there. It means you don't have to heat up your large oven. It also means you can put 2 of these side by side in your oven. So you could have some roasted broccoli on this one while you're cooking some salmon on this one. And it's very easy to pull one out, let the other one continue to cook. So I really love them. If you have a small freezer or a packed freezer like I do, it also means that you can put your cookie dough balls on here, pop it in your freezer, let them freeze, take them off, and put them into a storage bag. Whereas I could never fit a half sheet pan in my tiny apartment freezer. So I love the small size here. It's just much more versatile. It's also easier to clean if you don't have a massive sink, very easy to get in there and scrub. So I love the 1/4 sheet pan, but I might love even more the 1/8 sheet pan. I mean, look, this is so cute, right? We just love the way this looks here. So this has a lot of the same properties as what we just talked about. It's great for cooking very small amounts of food. You know, if you're cooking for 1 or even 2, this is wonderful. This fits in most standard toaster ovens, so it's really, really functional that way. But one of my favorite uses is when I'm organizing ingredients ahead of time. I'll put, a couple ingredients on here and a couple on another one. I can grab them at different stages of cooking. I also love grating cheese directly onto this. So instead of doing it onto a cutting board and then picking it up or trying to do it in a bowl, which can get awkward, you can rest your microplane right on here and grate. And then you've got this beautiful plate of cheese there. But another wonderful use is as a spoon rest. So you're cooking, you can just drop it down like you just drop it on the counter, but it contains all of the mess. Then at the end of cooking, you're serving up your food, you do all that, place this in the sink, run your water on it. By the time you're done eating, it's so easy to clean up. So there's a big family of sheet pans, from our standard half sheet down to our even more functional 1/4 sheet. And then finally, our most adorable, precious, but really, really functional 1/8 sheet. I think we all have a pan that just lives on the top of the stove. We use it so much, it never gets put away. And for me, that is my wok. Now this is a 14-inch flat bottom carbon steel wok. Now the wok is an ancient cooking tool. It's really, really fabulous, and it's been around for a long time because it does so much so well. So let's talk about a few of those uses. You obviously can do amazing stir fries in here. Its bowl shape means that you can toss and stir ingredients and they stay contained in there. You also get these different heat zones. So on the bottom, you get really good searing where it has contact with the burner. And as you get higher up, you get less cooking and some steaming going on. So you can really control how you cook. Now this particular wok is interesting because it is a spun wok, and you can actually see these thin lines that go all the way around it. Now there's spun woks and then there's pounded woks where you'd see small indentations. Now both types of woks have the benefit of a little bit of grippiness on the side here, so that if you are cooking food and you're done cooking it, but you want to keep it in the wok, you can kind of nudge it up the side and let it stay there while you're cooking something in the bottom. One of the reasons that I love wok, as I mentioned, is that it's so versatile. So stir frying obviously makes sense. It's a great steaming vessel when you have bamboo steamers. It's fabulous for deep frying. What's interesting is you actually need to use less oil with this than you would, say, a Dutch oven because of its shape. So you need less oil to fill it. It's also great for floating fried foods because there's more space at the top. So something like donuts works really, really well. Another thing I really love about my wok is that it gets better with time. And that's not true for a lot of equipment in general. But when you buy a wok, it really doesn't have much of a seasoning on it. And that is polymerized oil stuck to the surface that gets really nice and black like this, but it also creates more of a non-stick surface. So as you cook with it, more of that oil bonds to the pan, you scrape off the stuff that's a little bit rough, and you have this smooth, beautiful black interior that really gets quite non-stick. Now compare that to a non-stick pan that is maybe treated with Teflon. It is its best when it comes right out of the box, and then it just gets worse over time as you use it. I really love that. This is the kind of thing that you could pass down to the next generation of cooks as well. So if you have a wok and you love it, great. If you don't, now's your chance to go out and get one. But if you do have one and you don't have a wok brush, let me recommend that you get one. They're really inexpensive. It is just sheets of bamboo that are lined up in this direction and then wrapped around kind of a solid core there with a handle on it. How it's meant to be used, which I think is really, really brilliant, is you take it like this and you actually scrape this way. So if you think about the strength that the bamboo has in this direction is really strong, and these are kind of sharp on the end. So what it does is it scrapes away any food that is stuck on there really, really easily. But at the same time, it's not metal, so you're not scraping off that seasoning. So this combo here of wok and wok brush with a few wok tools, there's really nothing that I don't cook in my wok. I find it super, super versatile. There are two types of people in this world, those who love a standard peeler and those who love a Y peeler. I am in the second camp, and I find that the people who don't like Y peelers, I think they just don't know how to use them. I'm not being snarky there. There's actually 3 different handholds that you can use when you're working on vegetables, and I'm gonna demo those. So this one here is ATK recommended. We've recommended it for many, many years. It's super, super light. It's plastic with a carbon steel blade here. This is a brand new one, super, super sharp right out of the box, and it stays that way for a long time. When you're peeling, it's very different than using a knife and hitting it constantly against the board. The blade stays sharp a lot longer. It also has this unique little feature over here. Most people think it's maybe like a hook to hang it, but it's actually for removing the eyes that you find on potatoes. There's a lot of cool features to it, but what I really love is that it's just a much easier motion for me than using the standard peeler, which is much more like using a paring knife. So that's my sales pitch for the Y peeler. Let's get into the 3 different ways that you can hold it based on the produce that you are working with. So the first one I'm gonna talk about is this hold right here. Now this is for working through really hard things like the tough skin on a squash, or if you're peeling the stalk of broccoli, which has all those undulations, it can be really hard. So this, you really choke up on it. You have your thumb and index finger here, and you can really pull through, and you're kind of using your whole arm to do it. So that's one grip. Another grip is when you're working on something like an apple or a potato. And there, it's kind of interesting. You bring your hand up here, so you have your index finger, and you're gripping it that way, and you use your thumb, and you keep that actually on the produce as you're working around. That helps you follow the curvature of, say, an apple or a potato really nicely. And then finally, this is kind of the flicker technique, I would say. This is when it's a delicate thing. You just want to take, a little bit of peel off, and you want to move really quickly, and you kind of do this motion here, and you can go really, really rapidly. So let's use this beefy grip where I'm holding it like this on a squash, butternut squash with a really, really tough skin. So I like to hold it like this, and you just go to town. And you can see that I'm using my entire arm for it, not just my wrist. That gives me a lot more power and gets really good purchase on it. Now, what's interesting about peeling butternut squash is you can see you get these color changes as you go. So it's kind of light. You don't want to stop at that light point because that white is actually still kind of tough. When you roast it, it'll be a little bit tough. You want to go down until you just have pure orange. That's why this peeler is so great, to just dig right into it, get down to about that color. Okay, so that is our beefiest grip. It's fabulous for the squash here, good for broccoli stems, anything tough you got to work through. Next up, we're going to work with a potato here. And our grip, where we're gonna use our thumb as well. So I wrap my whole hand around here, my index finger fits into that hole, and then the other side of it fits in there. And then I have my thumb. What this allows me to do is have really good control. I can follow the entire curvature of this potato as I go down. What I'm doing is actually pulling my thumb and the peeler together as I go, and that is the power I used to get through that peel. Beautiful, and now we can actually take a look at this little eye remover, because we have some here, some small ones. And it's very simple. You take it like this in your hand and just dig right in and then pop it out. You could also use it as a tiny melon baller if you wanted to. Anyway, this is the perfect peeler for a potato. The third grip, I put my thumb here and my index finger down here. So it's a very light hold on it, but we don't need a lot of power with this. This is for taking off just a thin amount of skin or peel on a vegetable such as a carrot. So I hold it like this, I have my carrot this way, and I literally just run it down. And it's more of a wrist motion where I'm just flicking right down. What's cool about this is you can actually do it incredibly quickly. I can just rotate the carrot with one hand and just peel just comes right off. And that's it, super, super quick. I wanna talk about one of my favorite utensils and one of my favorite pans and how they actually go really well together. So first up is a sauce spoon. So the first thing is it's got a really nice wide bowl. So this makes transferring stuff from a pan to your plate really, really easy. It's also fabulous for skimming fat off of things. But what I love is that it's got a short handle. Now, there's a little bit maybe of a fear factor of getting too close to your food and the heat, but what it allows you to do is have really great control. This pan over here, I also really love. You can see that it has rounded sides. It does not have corners at the bottom. And that's really great for a couple of reasons. One is when you have food in there and you want to give it a little bit of a toss, it is made to do that toss. You're not going to hit a hard wall. There's no corner to get in the way. So for something like pasta, it is perfect. You can toss and toss, and it just kicks off that back there, helps your food keep moving, and it makes it look really, really easy to do that. It's not a hard move at that point. So I also really love that it doesn't have corners, because corners are the places in pans where things go to stick and burn. So if you're working with a custard or something like that, corners are your worst enemy. A lot of times you have a whisk in there to keep things moving. Then you got to switch over to a wooden implement where you can actually scrape and get the corners. What's really cool is when we talk about utensils and pans and how they work together, these two are a match made in heaven. And the reason is, you take a look at this and the shape of this pan here, and you move your spoon around, it perfectly matches it. So this combo, I always have at home. It's always what I reach for making sauces, pasta, custards. And I think if you have it, you're gonna find so many more uses too. The more you cook, the more you realize how important your tool chest is. Now, it's less about having a lot of equipment and more about having the right tools for the way that you like to cook. And I gotta admit, it's always fun when you add a new favorite. With ATK classes, you'll get access to a wide variety of lessons filled with masterful techniques, helpful videos, and step-by-step photos. From knife skills and making hand-rolled pasta to baking and frosting incredible cakes, and so much more. Download the America's Test Kitchen app and start learning with ATK classes today.